Good morning, YouTube. Celebrities and cars, it kind of goes hand in hand. We've seen lots of them sell at Barrett-Jackson, where April and I work. But currently, there's some political figures that are having their cars sold online for charity. I guess, well, is the King of England a political figure?
Yeah, of course. Their influence, right?
Well, what do you... Because he's not a political figure, he's a head of state.
Ah, head of state.
So he is
but
selling...
Do you think that actually like a celebrity tied to a car does a lot for the value?
Oh, absolutely.
Actually, like what percentage would you say?
Depends on the celebrity, I suppose.
Okay,
but
yeah,
I would think by a lot. I mean, we had the Lamborghini Diablo that was Donald Trump's that sold for $1.1 million for a VT Roadster. Yes, it was a one-off color, but it did have some mileage on it. It was double what a normal VT Roadster that's a one-off color would have sold for. I sold my old one for $350,000. This one, the same car. This one sold for $1.1 million. But
I was shocked that there was this huge crowd of people just rushing the block just to see this car go across. So I guess, yeah, celebrity does bring a lot to the car.
It was a wild moment, and Mike Joy was working the live TV coverage with me, and he compared it to the Batmobile, and people going crazy for the Batmobile, and it was a similar situation where they had a little Trump rally on stage, and it was interesting. I didn't know when to jump in and start talking because they were busy chanting and things. I eventually jumped in and just started going. But like I said, there's some other celebrities or heads of state auctions going on right now. Prince Charles's Jaguar I-Pace, a 2018, being sold by historic auctioneers. I assume it's for some charity, but it's an electric Jaguar they had painted in a one-off color.
Ah, another one-off color.
Yes, so that will be selling. And then on Cars and Bids, I think we're just at 1 day left. On this one, I just spit all over my screen. Sorry about that. A 2018 Cadillac ATS-V sedan. Joe Biden spec'd this one out. He owned it.
But for real? Like he actually picked this out.
So before he became president, it looks like he got himself this really cool Cadillac to cruise around in. And
I feel like that fits. He would totally drive a Cadillac.
Right.
I love Cadillacs, totally. But like, that's his jam right there.
Well, because I think for his wedding gift, his dad gave him that Corvette that he still has, the 60s Corvette, where they had it parked and he was backing out in the footage, and in the garage was the boxes where all the classified documents were, hiding next to his Corvette. But the Corvette that he has is really, really cool, and what an amazing gift from his dad that he still has to this day. The current high bid on that one is $70,000. So chances are King Charles and Joe Biden are not going to get the same amount of money as Trump's Lamborghini Diablo.
No, that's why you need to sell it at Barrett-Jackson.
Unlikely. Well, just the cars themselves, and that car of Trump's being pretty famous. But I thought I'd go through and see what the most expensive celebrity cars to ever sell were.
Ever?
Ever.
Ever. Okay.
Yes.
Where are we starting with?
So, Steve McQueen.
Of
course. King of Cool.
Okay, yes.
His 1970 Porsche 917K. So the real deal, not a replica.
Right.
But something you would have seen in his movie Le Mans or whatever. But this is just a race car. It's not really anything for the street.
Right.
It sold for $14 million in 2017.
Where do you keep I mean, I feel like you would keep that in a museum, and like because you can't drive it. So.
Well, for vintage racing and that kind of stuff, this would be a shoe-in for just about anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a real period 917K race car.
Okay,
so,
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
I would be so nervous just even walking close by it and like checking my clothes to see if there's anything to scratch on it. But that would be a sweet car to have.
Have you heard of James Coburn?
Who's James Coburn?
He was in a bunch of movies.
Okay.
Silver screen actor.
Yes.
But he had really good taste in cars. 1961 Ferrari 250 GT Spider, California short wheelbase, so the Ferris Bueller car. Yeah, $11 million in 2008.
Is this the actual Ferris Bueller car?
Well, it looks a lot like it, yes.
Okay, but the same one?
Yeah.
You're like, is
similar.
Very
similar.
Similar enough to be Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a sweet car. Okay.
Right. We've seen some sell for a little bit more in recent years, but that was a lot in 2008. So yeah, $11 million. Carroll Shelby's twin turbocharged is Super Snake, which was sold twice at Barrett-Jackson. But this is a car that he built in the 60s to beat his lawyer's Ferrari. A big block with twin turbos, so the 0 to 60 was something like 3 seconds in the 60s. Absolutely insane. So
in the 60s.
In 2007, it sold for $5 or $5.5 million with fees, and then just sold recently in the last few years again for the same amount of money.
I can't believe it went that fast in the 60s.
Yeah.
That's so unbelievable.
And a beautiful car.
Yeah.
How about John Lennon's Rolls-Royce Phantom 5?
What? That is cool.
In 1985, so this is
Whoa.
5 years after he died, sold for $2.3 million, which was crazy. Like,
That is
unheard of for a car.
I love that
in
custom paint.
this period of time.
That is so. If you would ask me like which rock star owned this, I'd be like Janis Joplin or John Lennon. Like that is screams Beatles all the way.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Most definitely, but the king most recently has to be Jerry Seinfeld.
What did Jerry do?
He sold off a collection of Porsches
Yeah.
a few years ago, and the money was just nuts.
Okay.
Porsche 550 Spider from 1955, $5 million.
What?
A Porsche 917, like
Yeah.
McQueen's, $3 million. A 59 Porsche 17 RSK Roadster for $2,860,000. 1974 Porsche 911 Carrera 3.0, $2.3 million.
Wow.
I mean, the whole list of amazing
and
cars.
Going through that list,
Yeah.
is there more value because they were Jerry Seinfeld, or would you say those are kind of around where the
Well,
value
they're
should
all top-tier blue-chip collectible Porsches,
Right.
but the fact that they were owned by Seinfeld, who's the most famous
Right.
Porsche collector in the world,
Right.
certainly helped the case
be? Yeah.
there.
Well, and you know that he's a real deal car guy, so you know he's taking
Yeah.
care of them really well, which I don't know, that would add some value to it.
Right. But my favorite car,
Of course.
Clark Gable owned a 55 Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing.
Yes.
And that one sold for $2 million
Wow.
at Barrett Jackson in 2015.
Okay.
So we recently saw one that was perfectly restored sell for $3 million.
Right.
So,
The
and it wasn't owned by
value-
Clark Gable's.
The
yeah.
value of these just is like I feel like it's not ever going to stop. It's not going to plateau. It's just going to keep going and going and going.
Thanks for reminding me, because I'll never be able to buy one, unfortunately. Yeah, the prices keep going up. And then Phil Berg's 1931 Duesenberg. So he was like a hotshot talent agent for
Okay.
the silver screen people like Clark Gable, Judy Garland, Joan Crawford.
Got it.
And he had this Duesenberg Model J. And it's a pretty famous one because he challenged these Marx brothers to a race. They had a supercharged pre-war Mercedes. This is in the 1930s.
Yeah.
And he thought his Duesenberg could beat it. So he went and had his Duesenberg tuned and stripped of all of its extra fenders and things
Right.
to do this race where all these celebrities showed up. And they bet $25,000, which is like the equivalent of
Whoa.
$1 million plus today, on this gentleman's
Right.
heads-up race on a Mercedes 540K, I believe, and then this Duesenberg Model J. They lined them up,
Yes.
and the Mercedes had the early lead, but then the Duesenberg reeled it in one-handedly.
And is that what you would have bet on, the Duesenberg, or would you have gone Mercedes?
I don't know, I probably would have gone with the Mercedes, since
Yeah?
I love those cars so much, but the Duesenbergs were incredible cars at their time. So this
Right.
one, in 2012, sold for $1.3 million. So
In 2012.
huge story with this car, but obviously owned by somebody famous.
Yeah. That's a beautiful car. Out of all of these cars, which one, besides
The Gullwing.
the Gullwing, which one would you want to put
The
to your
Duesenberg
collection?
would be pretty cool. I think Carroll Shelby's Super
Really?
Snake would be really
Okay.
fun to own, for
No,
sure.
I love
It'd be
that.
insane.
I love that. And would you ever have a recreation of those? Because there's so many recreation
not? Yeah,
Cobras.
sure.
You would. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it because you have the history, but then the drivability of it, you can actually take it on the road, and you're not scared
April
to drive
doesn't
it.
like replicas. So even now, real Shelby Cobras, when there's a real one, April's like, yeah, it's like, well, this is a real one.
Right.
It's real. And
You're
there's
just so
only
used to
replicas.
seeing
Yeah.
ones that are recreations, and so it's cool that it's real, but then you're too nervous to drive it, so it's gonna sit and be watched
Right.
on a pedestal.
Well,
which
so
is
I
fun.
doubt King Charles or Joe Biden's Cadillac, they won't go in the record books at all.
Right.
But yeah, the Celebrity Connection, I guess we'll see when these things complete crossing the block. Daddy Doug selling one of them.
Ooh,
Good job, Daddy Doug. Oh, don't growl.
I just purred.
Thank you so much for
It
watching.
was a slight purr.
Yeah.